This is the North End. This is the North End.
What is up, YouTube? My name is Paul Forrest. I am a Man United fan. I am a member of the North End YouTube channel, a Premier League fan community thing. We're not quite sure what we are yet. We're still trying to figure that out. But essentially, we are just a bunch of people who like talking some smack about the Premier League. Some of us have different teams, and those of us who support different teams sometimes get together and talk about those specific teams. Like my man, Dave Convery, who will be joining me to talk about what we learned, the 5 things, because it seems like a gimmick that we should roll out from time to time. The 5 things we learned about Man United beating Brentford. Dave Convery, how are you?
I'm good. I actually, for the first time in a while, watched a Man United game and enjoyed it.
It was weird, right?
I got to the end of it and I was like, I had a fun time. I enjoyed it. I wasn't, ready to lose my mind. So that was a nice change.
I think you and I were texting back and forth, and I literally said, I don't know what to do with this energy. Like, this feels like there's no anxiety. I couldn't even say I was enjoying myself. I just didn't. It was like the absence of anxiety. It's not the same as happiness. It's like, it was just weird.
And then they scored some goals that were actually quite nice. I was like, who is this team?
They did. It was you know what? Let's not get too excited. Before we get down into this, first of all, everybody out there, like, we are a YouTube channel. I guess bread and butter is that we like your clicks, we like your follows, we like your comments, we like interactions of all sorts and varieties, as long as they're not nasty. We're sensitive.
Doesn't everyone do this? Doesn't everyone on YouTube do this? Like and subscribe, please.
Yeah. Like, I want to be able to grow this without being a complete shell about it. You know what I mean? I don't want to feel icky about it, but if you could like and subscribe, that'd be great. Dave Convery would kiss you on the mouth. That's our promise.
Likely.
That is our promise.
So we'll get no likes
because we're contractually obligated to do this. If you so choose, we offer 20% off Manscaped and their fine selection of products and free delivery with the code you see at the top of the screen right there. I can't speak enough about it. I don't know what to tell you. I don't want to get too detailed about it because it is kind of a thing you don't want to get too detailed about, but it's a game changer.
Clean it up down there. The ladies want it. The guys want it. This is for everyone. Just keep it clean, and have more interaction with other people the cleaner you are down there. No?
Good sage words. Sage advice. All right, let's get into this. 5 things we learned about Man United, or we just noted in the course of this game. I think people think sometimes it's about learning. I don't think it's always about learning. Sometimes it's just like, what did we notice? I'm going to kick us off with this one because I think it's important. This one is a weird one. We controlled the midfield for the first time in I don't know how long, and all we seemed to do was bring in Mata for Bruno Fernandes from the last game. Bruno played further up the field. Mata played more of a midfield 3, like a 10 kind of role, just hovered around. But as a result, with Matic, who had a great game, and McTominay, who also quietly had a pretty effective and efficient game, we had total control of the midfield for maybe the second or third time I've seen all season, which is like one of those ones you don't notice you didn't have it until you see it. I was very happy about it, but it raised some questions. If all it took was bringing Juan Mata into the midfield with his delightful 1-2s and constant moving around to get the ball, are we that far away from having a decent midfield? I know Matic is going to leave, but I think we've also, a DM of his caliber at his age is not the hardest thing in the world to replace. Scott McTominay is not a hard player to upgrade. Mata, as good as he was this day, is not necessarily like lightning in a bottle. So I don't know. There was something very positive about seeing these 3 guys own a midfield. I felt optimistic that we could sort ourselves out somehow.
But I don't think you're boiling the ocean here. I think when you bring Mata into the midfield, one of his huge strengths is tempo. He gets the ball, he looks up, and he moves it. And I thought Matic and McTominay kind of bought into that right away. So the one thing that stuck out for me is by us controlling him, all we did was move the ball quicker, and we had more rotation. I saw Bruno moving off the ball more. Cristiano was moving. Alenga. It really isn't that complicated for me. We were moving more, and we were moving quicker. And that's what you and I have been screaming out for, and a lot of United fans. And I think you're right. I think there's a lot of players out in the market that are not at this age and are of a higher caliber that can just buy into that. But Juan Mata, we know he's not the quickest anymore, and we know he gets knocked off the ball, but his football IQ is still some of the best on the planet, and he was given time and space, and he dictated it, and it was a treat to watch. He'll be great in Spain or Italy.
Let's talk about it. Point number 2. He's a special one. He's a special one. I mean, this is his last game at Old Trafford. It was emotional. I think a lot of people are talking about it, but like, he had a great game this game. What a great way to send off. He almost had a goal. Between him and Ronaldo, he was a half a foot wide of the post, but if that had gone in, I think everybody would have lost their mind. But on a whole, he reminded everybody that he still got it. He got in behind at one point. Everybody was looking for him. Everybody was getting the ball to his feet. He barely took a step wrong. And I mean, that's a great way to send off who I think is one of my favorite, although not successful players, but maybe one of my favorite Man United players, because he is just a special, special talent and a special human being. And I know we didn't win much when he was here, and he was here during a weirdly dark time. And I know that he won't go down in the caliber of like the greatest ever players at Man United for various reasons, but I just don't think that means you can't have a special place in your heart for him. And I don't know. I'm going to miss him. I wish him all the best. I think he's still got lots of years ahead of him from what I saw.
I think he'll go down as one of the more likable players in this United era, and I kind of feel bad for him because he was here during what you would call the dark days era, right? Like he was Moyes' I think first big purchase in January, and like he's been here I think 7 or 8 years. Like he's played at United for a long time. You could make an argument in the last couple of seasons, was he not used enough? Was he misused? Did Bruno Fernandes come in kind of take away that little 10 role? But I think what we saw yesterday is this is a guy that still has it and can play at the top level, and just his ability and creativity. He will always go down as a very, very likable, talented player. And I agree with you. I will miss him. He's a talented young man, and I hope he does well wherever he goes next.
And some people might want to remind us that it was Brentford. Yes, it was Brentford. But Brentford are a good Premier League team. They have a midfield that's capable. They gave Chelsea, who have one of the best midfield in the Premier League. They have one of the best they gave them a lot of problems recently. And this guy went out and showed that he's still got something. So yeah, it is Brentford, but that's not an indictment of what he did. He couldn't do it against Man City. Nobody's saying he could, but whatever. Wish him the best. Farewell. Which brings us to a weird point, because it may indicate that we're not saying goodbye to this man anytime soon. Cristiano Ronaldo, hell of a game, number one, first of all. I mean, we're just relaying the same thing over and over again. When he plays well, when he can finish, Man United play better. We certainly get better chance of results. We don't always play better because he's playing well or scoring, because sometimes he can have a real stinker and still score your goal. But I thought he was really, really motivated this game, and I liked a lot of what he was doing. And part of me felt like, oh, well, it's because this is his last game at Old Trafford. Like when I was watching it, I was going, oh, what's motivating this? And I was like, well, maybe it's his last game. And I was like, well, it actually could be. But then after the game, seen on camera, saying I'm not finished. And I feel like, yeah, he could be talking about his career, but I certainly think that given the occasion and given where he was, and it was Old Trafford, I think you could probably read between the lines and infer that he meant he was not finished at Old Trafford and he wasn't finished at Manchester United, which, right or wrong, I'm still kind of torn about what the future holds and whether or not relying on Cristiano Ronaldo for another season is a bit of a handbrake to the rebuild. I don't know, but I would like it if we had the option and it wasn't like he just went off by himself.
I don't think I think when it comes to Ronaldo and when he says he's not finished, I think he's talking about himself, right? Like you must have seen it. A lot of people have talked. Like Cristiano Ronaldo has been the one bright light in a very, very poor Manchester United season. This guy's not 37, he's 38. And what does he have? 17, 18 Premier League goals in a very poor Man United team. And you're always going to get intrinsically, these two will be linked for the rest of their lives in football history. Messi's playing in France and has, what, 3 league goals? He's saying I'm not. He's 38, and you could make an argument that he's still top 2 or 3 number 9s on the planet. What he's doing is wild. He didn't just score. He scored an incredible goal that was marginally offside, and he looked dominant. I think the messaging is, I'm not done. I can still play at the highest level. The thing I want to bring up, and I don't think enough people are bringing it up, is that Cristiano Ronaldo is the Champions League. If you look at what he's done in that competition, I think it's going to be difficult for him to look in the mirror and stay at United next year. Not to say he wouldn't be successful and we couldn't use him, but if Ronaldo says I'm not finished and wants to play at the highest level, he's not going to play. I almost would see him saying, hey, I don't play on Thursdays. So then what do we do? Like, are we just keeping him for Premier League only, and are we going to start him as our striker and have a backup play in the Euro? Ronaldo doesn't belong in the Euro. I would almost be disgusted watching him play at Europa. He is the Champions League. Will he stay if we don't have Champions League football is the question I think everyone needs to start to ask, and I haven't heard that so far. It's like, oh, maybe he'll stay, maybe he'll not. It's what he wants to do. He'll decide, not us.
Yeah,
but man, he's still got it, though.
Let's just talk about it for a second. He knows he's not playing in Champions League.
Yeah.
And he says, I'm not finished at the last game of Old Trafford where everybody's expecting him to be saying goodbye. It's a very deliberate thing to say. Like, I know you're reading it as being like he's saying he's not done his career, but like you just don't say that in that situation because it's not his last game at Man United. It's his last game in front of Old Trafford. I don't want to infer too much, but I really think you're missing the mark when you're interpreting it the way you have. Like,
I don't think he stays.
It is much more likely that he means he is planning on staying than not. I don't know if that means he stays because he hasn't met with Ten Hag. He may still like change his mind depending on some certain things, but he knows he's not playing in Champions League and he's still walking around the field like beating the chest saying I'm staying. So I don't think you can ignore it for what it is. It doesn't mean anything specifically, but it does.
I don't see it that way. I know when Ronaldo, he's very big on his own performance. I think when he says he's not finished, he's inferring that he's not finished at the highest level. But we'll see. Ronaldo, there's a huge question mark around him, Ten Hag, the future this summer. But I think one thing we need to call out is this guy still got it, and he has performed. He's performed this season.
Be really clear right now. He's got more goals than Harry Kane this season.
Yes, the best striker in the Premier League.
And not by a small margin. It's not close. That goal scoring race between those two players is not close.
No.
And I know there's different players, and I think Harry Kane is a better striker. I'd rather have Harry Kane on my team, but he's like, again, somebody save Harry Kane from Tottenham is all I can say. Please, I just implore somebody to please bring him away from that club.
Is Harry Kane a better finisher than Cristiano Ronaldo? The answer is no, he's not. And here's the other thing, and I don't want to get too far deep in this, but if you put Ronaldo as City's number 9 or even Chelsea's or Liverpool, how many goals did he get this year? 35? He's a machine, and it has to be recognized. We're lucky to have him.
Yeah. Well,
so good.
I don't think his finishing is that great, to be honest. He needs a lot of shots. He needs a lot of his conversion rate is not great. It's not elite. He scores a lot of goals, but he
scores elite goals. Yeah, that's true. You got to feed the beast.
You got to feed the beast, man. So the next point is it's kind of a sad point, but I looked at it as being a little bit of an optimistic point. We had a bit of a farewell party at Old Trafford. Jones, Matic, Mata, Cavani, all gone as of next season. I can't see any of these players continuing on. Jesse Lingard wasn't able to get that same kind of lap of honor. It would take away from me was every single one of these players to a man I want to replace anyways. And now that they're moving on and we actually have to replace them and we have to bring in younger, more reliable guys like Cavani are amazing, but the best ability is availability is an old statement, and it's true. If you can get somebody not as good as him, but who will show up and play 20 games in a season, you are far better off than if you had Cavani in your squad, as we found out this season. Matic is amazing on his day, but he's generally very slow. Phil Jones, not talking about him. There's no point. Mata, he was great but amazing, but he's not. These are all such bit part players that we needed to get off the books and we needed to move off from. So as I saw them doing well-deserved laps of honor, and I like that Old Trafford, it could have gone ugly. It could have been a not pleasant experience for the players, but I think Old Trafford kind of knows the problems are more upstream and it's not necessarily just about the players. So they gave him some honor, but I looked at this as being an optimistic moment. I wasn't anything other than, yes, this feels like a good turning of the page moment for me.
A proper send-off. I mean, you look at the list of players here. You got Phil Jones, Matic, and Mata. These are players who've been here a long time. I thought it was really nice. They got a proper send-off. Cavani's only been here a couple seasons. He's still going to go down in folklore. He scored some incredible goals. Really enjoyed having him here as the fans. So it was good. And I loved it, and I thought it was a really nice send-off. And these are just 4 of many. Pogba wasn't there, but I am going to call it out. And I don't know if you saw it. It's a little bit of controversy. Did you see Jesse Lingard's brother post on Instagram? Oh, yeah. A little negative. But, I mean, there's also reports coming out that, with United and Ten Hag and the end of the season, there's reports every day. I would say majority of them false. But again, I think Lingard likes being a Manchester United player, but I think you're right, Paul. I would say 95% of these players, not just these ones that we listed here, it is time to move on. We're at the absolute heart of a rebuild. Yeah. And I think more than anything, it's like, thank you. You put in an effort. The last couple of years have been tough. We wish you luck. But it was nice to see Old Trafford send them off right. And it's just the beginning of a massive overhaul. And I wish nothing but the best for everyone that's moving on and starting a new chapter. And I thought it was handled very well by the fans.
Yeah, I kind of wish Jesse maybe got a little bit more of a chance to say goodbye. But you can't bring all of this dead weight into a team without basically conceding the game to Brentford. And I do think it was important to finish somewhat strong, at least at home, because I don't know if that lap of honor would be the same if we had lost 3-0 to Brentford. So
one more comment on that though too. I mean, if you're Ralph Rangnick, it has been reported that Jesse Lingard was maybe one of the players leaking information about the dressing room, the state of the dressing room. And if you're Ralph, why are you going to reward him with a start or even a cameo bit part if that's true, right? The Scholes comment was very damning.
I do not think it's rumored. I think he had a conversation with Paul Scholes, and Paul Scholes opened his big goddamn mouth. Yeah. And I don't even blame Jesse Lingard for having a conversation with a Man United legend who's checking in on him. I would have thought Paul Scholes would know better than to go immediately to national television and just be like, well, Jesse just told me. Like, that was a very...
quote, unquote, I don't think Jesse would mind me saying this. I imagine Jesse minded.
Yes. So, unfortunately, you can't bench Paul Scholes, but you can punish Jesse, which is maybe what's happening. I think Jesse probably gets another chance at playing for Man United before the end of the season. And I can understand why brothers or siblings kind of like shoot their shot out on social media in defense of a loved one. I don't get that mad at that kind of thing, unless you're Paul Pogba's brother, who's constantly doing it. But I digress.
Good luck.
It was
PSG.
a nice moment. I did feel very good about the reception they had. I felt very good about the turning of the page. I don't know what the players that come in look like, but I do know the fact that these guys are openly saying goodbye to the player, like the fans. I received it very well. So then the last point is it's basically, now that we've got that out of the way and we're on the road for the rest of the season, let's play some goddamn kids, man. Let's give some kids some legitimate chances to get out there and do their thing. I want to see every one of these players on the field at some point in the next 2 games. Doesn't have to be full of 90 minutes. It could be a half-hour cameo, but it has to be more than 2 or 3 minutes here and there, and it has to be at the expense of somebody else.
And I know it's a huge long shot, but there is still a very, very slim chance at top 4. And I think you have to play your best team until that is no longer an option. And there's also that whole thing about playing in the Europa League and not the Conference League. Like, if we lose the next 2 games, like, I want to see the kids, but I also don't want to see Man United in the Conference League next year. I really don't. So I think it's important to juggle the 2 of those. I think there's probably about 4 or 5 that you could see playing in the remaining games regardless, with us still being competitive. Selfishly, I really want to see a lot more of Garnacho. I think he is a really, really unique talent. But Medbury, maybe some of the other guys. But again, while being at the same point not compromising where we finish at the end of the table, because I think that's important. United playing in the Conference League is not a good look, and I don't think it helps our recruitment situation going into the summer. That would be my only caveat to that, but I would love to see the kids.
I think for me, it's a must. Like and it's things like Alex Telles. Like where he's playing the next 2 games. Why? Because
He's terrible.
he's terrible. Like, so why not get Fernandez? Get the kid a chance to play.
I would say that's an easy call for me. I think that's playing a better player. And the nice thing, I'm very excited about Ten Hag, is such a big believer in the youth, betting the youth, giving them a chance. But a scenario like getting Tellez on the bench to getting a better player at left back, give him a chance to show that he's better. If he's going to help us win these games, yes. But again, I think the last game of the season, if we're in a comfortable position where we're not in top 4 and Europa League is secured, play 8 or 9 of them. I want to see what they got at the Premier League level, and I think we'll see some nice surprises. There's some real talent in this group, or 2 or 3 guys I think potentially could make the jump to being impactful starters next season. Can't wait to see him on the field.
Yeah, I'm very clear about who I want to see. I think you can play a youngster who's a left back because it's a straightforward position. You can play a youngster who's a winger because, again, it's just straightforward. It's not intricate. I've seen enough of Hannibal to be I'm happy if he was given the Juan Mata role for a game.
Oh, of course.
That we just saw at Brentford. I think he could do that job. I think he's a give and go guy. I think he's just an intelligent midfield player, and I think he gets around the pitch a little bit better than Mata. So I like the idea of having him go out there and play. I don't need to see like an entire rehab of like 11 aside. Like, it doesn't need to be all at once, but the next 2 games of the selected 22 players that start, I wouldn't mind seeing 3 over the course of the 2 games be youth players, and then 1 or 2 guys coming in off the bench. And I would be happy with that as an end of the season because, you do still have to play for something, but Man United have to play for something. These kids have to get used to that. And even if it's just playing for a chance at top 4, that it can't just be a free game. It can't just be a go have fun with a game. I want to see them have to live up to at least a little bit of expectation. And that's the lowest bar that they'll ever have in their career, you got to assume. They do have the FA Cup Youth Cup, I think, on Wednesday. So some of them will be playing in a cup final. And I think if any of them have a good game from that point, just straight in, like, just give them a chance. And I think we know the ones we want to see, but
100%. And they have been training with the first team, which is great. And the thing I've loved about Ralph, I mean, look at Alanga. If you're training with the big boys and you're fitting in, and you're not just fitting in, but you're showing effort. If you're showing effort and you have the skill and the ability, I think Ralph's the type of guy who's going to put you in there. So I think we are going to see the ones that we want to see. And that's where we're at right now. Like, we are rebuilding a squad. And instead of going out and spending 30, 40, 50 million on guys, and we know we're going to have to do that with certain players, but if we have 3 or 4 in our academy that we think can make the jump, at least to get a chance next year, I'd like to see them sooner rather than later. And I'm excited for 2 or 3 of them. So we will see them, I think, to how much capacity, whether they start or it's coming off for maybe a 5-10 minute cameo, we'll see. But a couple of guys they're really excited about. Obviously, they're young men. We got to see them bulk up a little bit. We all know the Premier League is very physical. We're looking at all these players we want to buy. There's a lot of them out there that we get linked with. They're not even ready. Like, even these guys from the Eredivisie, they're like, oh, Ten Hag's bringing this guy and that guy. I think for the most part, most of them aren't ready for the Premier League. Yeah. These guys, throw them in there. Let's see what they can do in the Prem.
You know what? If it does anything, it shows them how much more physical the Prem is, how much faster it is, and it gives them a little bit of a kick in the ass before the summer starts.
Oh, yeah.
You are not ready just because Argentina has selected you to their squad.
Thank you.
You need to get a sense of what you need to be at, where that level really is. And Premier League game action is how you get that. And then you go into the summer and you train harder and you get motivated and you come in to Ten Hag's new reign with a little bit of a kick in the ass. I'm all about this. I think I've been very clear about it. Throw in the kids, give them some eye-opening experiences, and then maybe one, if you're lucky, turns into a regular player at some point.
Yeah. One final
That's all I'll
comment
take.
around that too, and you're right. Throw them in there so they can at least get a barometer. What I'm really sick of in world football lately is, and we're guilty of it because we go on YouTube. We're trying to check with these players. We're doing our own personal scouting because we're fans. We're invested, and you see these guys, Serie A, Bundesliga, the French league. Oh, look at what he's doing here. Oh, look at this goal he scored at international level. Cool. The level and the gap between that and the Premier League is widening. So I think with Ten Hag's group and the scouting, potentially Paul Mitchell, really actually scouting players from head to toe, all of their technical ability, where they are. That's what I'm excited about more than ever. And if we've got a couple guys that we can get PL experience with, even for 20 minutes, half an hour, give them that barometer, give them the chance, and then get into a preseason, see where they're at. I think the scouting portion for United going into this summer with the new group is going to be different, and I'm most excited about that. And to see where these young guys can fit into the new squad, it's going to be great. I think I've never been happier for a season to end and for a preseason to begin.
Well, now we're not done yet. We still have some games to play. Let's not.
I know.
Just because we're not at Old Trafford doesn't mean we don't still have to show up and do our thing. And unfortunately, because we've chosen to do this as a hobby, we need to talk about it.
True.
Honestly, somebody should have told us when we agreed to do this whole idea that we would be going through years of darkness and we'd have to constantly be talking about our team doing shit. This would be so much easier if we were Man City fans. And I mean that legitimately because A, nobody would care because nobody really cares about Man City or Man City fans. No. But B, like every week could be a cakewalk. But no.
You'd be like, we scored another 4 goals. Cool.
Yeah.
We should have had 5. Yeah. Must be nice. But we'll see. I mean, it was nice to watch a game where the team put in effort. It was a nice farewell. I enjoyed it, and hopefully we can get another couple of those in before the season is officially over because it was a nice, refreshing change.
Totally. So that's it, folks. My name has been Paul. This has been Dave. This has been 5 things we noticed or learned or something about Man United beating Brentford 3-0. Like and subscribe. And we will catch you when we catch you, folks. Say bye, Dave.
Bye.
This is the North End.